the idea or the concept between today, or the principles that we're going to be looking at, is a movement and strength flow. And so don't be too concerned about the term used, flow, but what we're looking to do is put some movements together. So initially we're going to preface this by bringing some vertical plane movements, so a squat and a hinge, and then we're going to go into some anterior and posterior movements so that we can get the shoulders warm. We can also get the anterior and then the posterior warm as well. You guys see okay? And then from there we're going to start to look at putting some of these movements together into like a lizard crawl. So any of you who've followed me on Instagram know that I'm a big fan of animal movements and how we can bring those into calisthenics or yoga, but ultimately this is just movement. So we don't need to pigeonhole ourselves by saying, oh, I do this X practice. Basically we can cherry pick all the best bits and enjoy it for what it is. Good morning, Graham. How are you doing, sir? So without further ado, we shall get you warm. What we're going to be looking at to start with is a squat into a hinge pattern. Okay, so I'd like you to follow along with me. I'll explain the movements. I'll get you guys to follow along as well. Feel free to move and explore with me as well. So we are going to be doing a few reps, a few sets, but the main thing I want you to take away is this awareness that we can bring into our practice. It's quite dark, so put that light on. Hopefully that's a bit better. So just check all the bits and bobs. Right. So guys, I want you standing upright to start with. What we're going to be looking at doing, so the difference between a squat and a hinge. A hinge is working around the hips, i.e. we're thinking about putting the access through our pelvis. Okay, so a hinge to start with. We're going to do 10 of these, okay? If this is your first movement of the day, don't be surprised if your hamstrings are giving you a bit of jip. But the main thing I'm thinking about is keeping my feet flat to the ground, thinking about an axis or a bar coming through my hips. I'm going to push my bum back, keeping a neutral spine. I don't want to fold here. Keep this neutral spine and coming back up, okay? So I'm going to do 10 of those. With me, 3, 2, 1. So, hinge at the hips, pushing those hips back. 10, squeeze the glutes back up. 10. Hinge, squeeze. 9, good. Coming forwards each time, going a little bit further forwards. 8. No need to hyperextend at the top. Don't worry about that. Good. Folding forwards. 7. Hinge, hinge, hinge. 6. You can feel it working in your hamstrings. 5. Good. 4 more. 4. Good. If you want to increase the difficulty, bring those elbows forward. 3. 2 more. Folding forwards. 2. Last one. Folding forwards. And 1. Good. So, a hinge. The deadlift pattern, if you're familiar with that. We also incorporate this posterior chain. Very useful when we're doing things like back lever. So, this next position we're going to be doing a squat. But what I want you to do is go hips shoulder width apart, feet facing forwards or slightly turned out, and we're going to do 10 again. So 10 reps. Again, be kind on your body, trying to hit parallel. So I want to hit 90 degrees ideally. But again, first movements of the day. If you need something to counterbalance, you can always use like a sofa or something just to pull you forwards. Helps with the range of motion in the ankle. So 10 reps, a squat this time. So shoulder width apart, head up, chest up. We're going to come slowly down, squeeze. 10. Notice how I'm using my arms to counterbalance. 9. Again, if you find this easy, take your arms out of the equation. 8. Slowly down, squeeze. 7. Again, each time if you can go a little bit further. 6. Slowly down. 5. 4. Big breath at the top. 3. 2 more. 2. Last one. Slowly down, driving up. Nice. So what we're going to do now, we're going to pair those two movements together. So we're going to go from a hinge So remember that hinge pattern into a squat. When we're in this bottom position, we're going to get the ankles warm as well. What's called plantar flexion. So I'll show you the movement that we're after, and then you guys follow along with me. So we're going to hinge to start with, and then we're going to turn it into a squat. When I'm in this squat pattern, I'm then going to rock forwards. So notice how my toes and my knees aren't touching the ground. I'm going to sit back onto my heels, rest in this position. So this is Senza, if you guys are familiar with that. We're then going to reverse it. So I'm going to take, notice how I'm on the backs of my feet at this point, onto my toes, back onto heels, squat, hinge, up. Okay, you see that? It's basically like a 4-stage. So we're going to start in the top position, standing upright. We're going to hinge forwards, squat down. We're then going to go onto the tops of our feet, rest for a moment, bring the toes up, sit back onto heels, up, hinge. Okay, I'll be shouting it out. So we're going to go for 5 of these. So don't worry, don't stress, catch up or try and keep up with me. But again, I'll try and preface everything as we go. Hopefully that makes sense. So we're starting to see how we're combining. We're basically taking those 2 movements we did to start with, adding on top of each other. So this is where this idea of a flow comes in. Okay, so flow doesn't have to be a big interpretive dance, but it can be a combination of movements. Right, let's have a go, shall we? So I'm going to be stood upright. As a hinge, I'm thinking about sending my bum backwards so my legs stay straight. From here, I'm now going to bend the knees, so I'll sit down. In this position, if you're at 90 degrees, feel free to put your hands on the ground, but I'm going to go all the way down. So from here, I'm going to rock forwards, so my weight is on my knees and my toes, balls of my feet. From this position, flat, or the soles of my feet are now facing the sky, sit back. Okay, good. That's halfway through the first rep. So from here, back onto the toes, sit back into squat. Again, use your hands as you need. Drive the bum up, here, and then hinge. Good. First rep, easy, right? We're going to do 4 more of those. So, I'll show you from the side again. So hinge, push that bum backwards. Squat down. Onto the balls of your feet and your knees. Underneath. Good. Moment's rest. Balls of the feet. Onto your feet. Drive the bum up. Leave it up. Good. 2. Excellent, guys. So, we're going to do 3 more of these. Hinge. So bum back. Sit down. Rocking forwards. Again, use your arms as much as you need. Tuck the feet underneath. Balls of the feet. Sit back into squat. Bum in the air. Hinge back up. Good. 2 more. I'll show you from the front. So, stood upright. Hinge at the hips. Squatting down. Rock forwards. Feet underneath. Balls of the feet. Sit back. Bum up. Head up. Good. Doing really well, guys. So, hinge at the hips. Sit down. Rocking forwards. Toes underneath. Toes back down. Sit back. Hips up. Head up. Good. Final one. You know the principles now. So, hinging forwards. Squatting down. Rock forwards. Toes underneath. Toes on the ground. Soles of the feet on the ground. Hips up. Head up. Nice. Good. So that's a really simple routine for you guys. You can already feel your hips starting to work. You can feel your hip flexors opening. You can also get a lot of movement through the foot. So remember your fascia in your foot. There's so many bones in your feet, and that's how we interface with the ground. So we need to make sure that we've got good movement quality all the way through that kinetic chain. Love this sequence. Yes, Lorena, thank you very much. Yes, so some of you guys, a really simple one, literally first movements of the day. So even taking the ankle through plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, really good. Wake those ankles up. Excellent. Right, so what we're going to do now, we're going to get the shoulders integrated into this. So YouTube, I'll bring you down a bit. Just check there's no obvious questions to start with. Good, so I think you guys enjoyed that. Right, what we're going to do now is go into a prone or a front facing position. Okay, so see how I'm on all fours. At this point, I'm just going to keep my knees on the ground, palms on the ground. Okay, now notice how my hips, I'm not sagging through the hips, and nor am I anterior pelvic tilt. So anterior pelvic tilt, posterior pelvic tilt, I want to be somewhere in the middle, like a neutral spine. Does that make sense? So I don't want to be sagging through here, anterior tilt, nor am I doing this, posterior tilt. I'm somewhere in the middle. So you can do that. You can find out where center is. Cool. So protecting the back at all times. Now from here, I'm going to do the same with my shoulders. I'm going to come all the way down. So this is called retraction. So my scapula, my shoulder blades are touching at this point. So shoulder blades touching, I'm going to drive all the way without trying to bring that lumbar in as well. I'm doing it all through my shoulders. So I'm pushing away, pushing away, pushing away. Now my shoulder blades are the maximum protraction. So protract, retract, okay? We're going to go through these positions. We're going to do 5, but down and up is 1 repetition. Okay, so on all fours, let's go guys. So I'm going to come all the way down, keeping the arm straight all the time. So arm straight all the time, all the way down. And then from here, going to drive away in that top position. Okay, so notice how there's an arch in the top of my thoracic spine. That's good. That's 1. So I'm going to come all the way down, keeping the neck neutral. I'm not craning up. All the way up. 2. All the way down. Nice and smooth and controlled. All the way up, fully protracted. 3. 2 more. All the way down. Shoulder blades touching, driving them apart, all the way to the top. That's 4. 1 more of these. All the way down, all the way up. Good, nice. So even in those good positions, we don't need a lot of load. What we're trying to do is establish a good range, and then from there, we can start to build upon that. So we're going to do that now. We're going to increase the amount of load. So with calisthenics, our body weight remains the same, but in order to alter that, what we can do is increase lever length or work unilaterally. So the principle, we're going to be in the same position again. Hopefully, can you see that Instagram? So in this position again now, so I'm going to take the balls of my feet or my toes, and I'm going to take my knees off the ground. So you can still, if you want to, keep your knees on the ground. That's absolutely cool beans. But what I'm encouraging you to do now is increase the amount of load that you're working through. Or working with, not working through. The amount of load you're working with. So, I'm reducing my base of support. So, I'm digging my toes into the ground like we did in the warm-up. Toes into the ground. I'm going to take my knees about an inch off the ground. Here. Okay, so I'm still keeping quite a compact position. And we're going to do the same again. So, we're going to come all the way down, keeping the arms straight, all the way up. Good. 5. All the way down, all the way up. 4. If you want to make this harder, go into a full plank position. Okay? All the way down, all the way up. Good. 3. Again, keeping those elbows nice and tight to the body. I'm not going out, I'm screwing them in, elbows pointing back. Keeping those arms straight, shoulder blades touching, driving up. 2 more of these guys, really well done. So, all the way down, all the way up. Last one. All the way down, all the way up. Excellent. So, a couple of cues on that. If you're doing a huge movement, I would argue that you're bringing other joints and other musculature into the movement system that we don't need at this point. We're predominantly working shoulder, rotator cuff, scapula, okay? The ability to drive away and pull back. Excellent. Right, let's have a look. So, hopefully that makes sense. Right, so we're going to build on this theme. So notice how we introduce an element, and then we're going to start building upon that. Yes, Rich, see you later, dude. Quite a lot tougher. Scapula, yeah, so Katie, I think you're referring to the fact that when we do a shortened position, we can concentrate, but then as soon as we start incorporating more load, it becomes tougher, right? But ultimately, we're trying to get stronger in these positions. So, all right. That was called, yes, a scapular push or a push-up plus. So you can always add a push-up at the bottom and then drive the scapula away. But what I'm encouraging you to do now, so anything in front of the body, shoulder flexion. Now we're going to incorporate some shoulder extension. This ability to go in this back portion here. So flexion, extension. So we're going to work on some shoulder extension now. So in this position, we're going to start on all fours again. What I'm going to do is go onto my knees, take my knees off the ground and onto my toes. I'm going to drop the hips, I'm going to rotate the hips. So I'm going to move to the left like this. I'm going to move my hips over. So now I'm going to drive up through here. Similar to a Turkish get-up, if you guys have played with those. Come back to the center each time. Pushing the ground away. So knees off the ground, driving onto my toes. I'm going to go the other way now. So take my hips to the left. I'm going to open up. Okay? Bringing it back to the center each time. Does that make sense? So, I'll show you one from the front. We're in this front position here. So, on the balls of my feet, I'm going to drop my hips. I'm going to bring my leg through. So, it's now extended. If you want to make it harder, keep that leg off the ground. Back to the center. Going to go back the other way. Keep this leg off the ground. If you want to make it harder, make a bigger shape. Okay? So, a rep left and a rep right. We're going to class that as one total rep. So left, right equals 1. So we're now going to do 5 reps. So left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. If that makes sense. Right. Whew. So we're going to do a left, right. That is a 1 rep, and we're going to do 5 of those cyclically. So pushing into the ground. You guys see okay? Bring that down a little bit. Right, so pushing into the ground. Doesn't matter which way you go first, as long as you do both sides. That makes sense? So, pushing into the ground. I've taken my knees off, driving into the toes. I'm going to drop my hips over to my left, pushing into the ground. If I want to make it harder, big shape. Tuck back in, rotate round. Good. Drop my hips the other way, extend that leg, open up, tuck back in. Good, that's 1. Really well done. So, turn to the left. Keep it tight. Obviously, the smaller the shape, as Katie mentioned earlier, the easier it is. If you want to make it harder, big shape, back to the center. Good. All the way. So, rotate the hips, pushing into the ground, screwing the shoulder in, big shape. Back together, rotate back round. Good. That's 2 total reps. Left. Extend. Keep pushing the ground away, back to the center. Good. Rotate to the right. Big shape. Open up. Chest nice and open. Condense that shape. Rotate back. Good. 2 more. Right. Tucked. Extend. Tuck. Back to the center. Good. Rotate to the right. Tuck. Extend. Tuck. Back to the center. We've got 1 more each side. Let's go. Right. Tuck. Extend. Tuck. Back to the center, 1 more. Right, tight, open, tight, back to the center, and rest. Excellent, really nice. So, make sure you got some water. So you feel those positions, and the main thing we're thinking about is creating a good position, like when we do a frog stand, screwing that shoulder into the socket. So this glenohumeral joint here, screwing that in. That helps to wind up all the fascia and create a really stable base for which you can display strength. If we're all loosey-goosey, doesn't give us a very solid base for which we can then display that strength. So, to start with, we went through that vertical. So we went through hinge, squat, and then warming up the ankles. Now the ankle's warm, we go into a little bit of scapula, and then we turn that into external rotation. So opening up, okay? So your shoulders should feel quite good after that. Mine definitely feel nice and warm. So let's have a see. Yes, you can feel it in your quads. Can you move? Right. So from here, what we're going to do is build a bigger shape in that external position. Okay? I'll show you what I mean. So, those of you who did the workout with me last week, we did the crab. Okay? So we're now going to be in this position. So hence why we warm the shoulders up. We're going to stay in this position. Notice fingers pointing away, like this. And I'm here, so I'm going to take my bum off the ground. Now I'm going to lean over to my left hand side. I'm going to do a big reach over the top, move back to the centre, shift my weight over to one side, big reach over the top. I'm thinking about touching that window behind me, down, down. Okay, so notice how I'm shifting my weight to one side. I do one towards you guys, you can see that. So if I move over to the left, notice how my body weight shifts over here, still screwing the shoulder in, fingertips pointing away. So I'm here, I'm going to do a big extension, back to centre, normalise, rotate to the right, big extension, centre. Okay, so notice how if you want to make it harder, you open more through the hips. But I'm not asking loads, because obviously you think about the angle that we have to create at the shoulder, it's a much greater angle. Therefore you require more strength through range. But remember, this is potentially your first movements of the day, so be kind to yourself and be aware. The main thing we need to do is bring awareness to our training. Right, looking forward to this one. So, this is like a crab with a reach. So those of you who did the workout with me last week, we experimented with crab, different directions, so now we're building upon this theme. Right, those of you who want to do like a bridge, so in yoga, when you do a wheel pose, that's a really good way to build that strength in that shoulder, full shoulder flexion into extension. Right, let's go, shall we? Let's talk. So, fingertips pointing away. I'm pushing down into the ground, okay? So shoulder depressed. From here, I'm going to move over to my left. So my right hand is going to go over the top. I'm thinking about touching that wall behind, creating a big long line between my hand, shoulder, hip, knee. Big extension, good. Rest back down. So I'm going to move over to the right hand side now. Take this left arm, big extension, straight arm, wrist, shoulder, hip, back to the centre. Good. 4 more of those. So left and right is 1. Okay? So again, if you need to rest in between, feel free to do so. But let's go back in, shall we? So left hand side. Big extension through the right, big stretch. I can feel that open through my lats and my obliques. Good. Tuck that hand back in. That's it, back to the centre, neutral. Take this left hand, big extension over the top. Good. Tuck that elbow back in, back to the centre. Good, we've got 3 more of these. So over to the left. Push the hips up, big extension through that arm, elbow back in, hand back down, move over to the other side. So pushing into the ground, I've shifted my weight to the right, elbow up, big extension, down, back to the centre. Good. 2 more. Keep those glutes on if you can, but feel free to rest if not. Over to the left. Push that ground away. Open through the arm, back down, down, move to the other side. Tuck that elbow, extend, back to centre, shift that bar, over to the left. We're going to do 1 more each side, then we're done. Okay, for this exercise. So push that ground away, screwing that shoulder in, fingertips point away, elbow, wrist, back down. Last one of these, over to the right, tuck that elbow, squeeze the glutes, back down, all the way down. Excellent. Who enjoyed that one? I really like that one. So you answered what I will ask about elbows. Good. As I say, if I don't come to your question, please feel free to put it in the comments and I'll try and get to it. Cheers. Right, so that was a really nice exercise. So notice again, so initially we went into that crab position, keeping everything nice and tucked, lever length nice and short. From there, when we went into, so creating a bigger position, and we went unilateral, so i.e. using one side opposed to using both sides at the same time, you can feel the change. Okay, we're having to manage a lot more weight distribution and also the strength required between those two sides. So potentially you found that one side was easier than the other. Yeah? So you can feel that stretch coming through that whole lateral sling. So through the posterior delt, into the lat, through the obliques, and into that hip flexor as well. Really, really nice beneficial exercise. Good. So we did vertical, so we did hinge and squat. Then we got the posterior chain, nice and warm, so shoulders, and we brought in a little bit of spine stuff. Then from there, we brought into shoulder extension. Good. Yes. So again, some people are noticing that one side isn't quite as stable as the other, so that's why I really like unilateral exercises, just so we get a good idea what's going on between both sides. So we need to remember, we need to be nice and deliberate through all these movements. What we're going to do now is basically a ripple through the whole chain. Okay, this will make sense when I show you, but we're going to think about our whole body sending like you know when you do a Mexican wave, we're going to send that through our whole body now. Really, really nice exercise this. So we're going to be in a plank position. I'll show you what I want, and then you guys feel free to have a go. If not, have a go at the same time, and then continue to work through it with me. Right, so I'm going to be pushing the ground away. Now I'm going to create a nice long shape. I'm going to be in plank position. Okay? I'm going to think about sending a wave. So I'm going to lean forward through my toes, and as I do, shift my hips forwards into a plank, and then I go beyond the plank into a planche, drop the hips, and then back. Okay? So basically, think about a wave in the ocean. It's going to start at my toes. It's going to go all the way through my body. I'm going to lean forwards beyond that plank position, and then I'm going to drop my hips, and then I'm going to send that wave back. That'll be one rep. I'll show you one more time. So we're going to be here. So we're going to start in this all fours position. I'm going to think about sending. I'm going to come up onto my toes. I'm going to slide my hips forwards. So into a plank, protracted, shoulder blades pushing the ground away. I'm going to come into a planche where my shoulders come beyond vertical. Then I'm going to go into a cobra. So I'm going to lean forwards, drop the hips, and then I'm going to reverse it. So protract and then come back. Okay, that's one rep. Does that make sense? I'll show you one face in it just because Instagram it's a vertical position. So I'm going to be on all fours. I'm going to think about driving up onto the balls of my feet, coming forwards, lean forwards, drop the hips, and then I'm going to reverse it, send my bum back into this position. That's one rep. Okay, we're going to do 5 reps. So toes, up on your toes, sending the bum up, lean forwards, take it beyond plank into a planche. So that's a plank, that's more like a planche, pseudo planche, and then we're going to drop the hips, and then we're going to send that wave back. Right, let's have a go. Let's have a go, shall we? So we're going to do 5 of these. So we're going to wave forwards, we're going to wave back. That's one rep. So feel free at any point to sit back onto your heels, take a rest, then catch up as we go. And obviously, if you're getting any wrist pain, don't feel like you need to do that full planche, just do that plank. Okay, does that make sense? So a plank is when we keep wrist below shoulder. A planche is when we take shoulder beyond. Okay, so as you start to fatigue, you may find that you just need to scale it back a little bit. Okay, let's go, shall we? So, starting on all fours. So toes into the ground. I'm going to wave forwards. So here, bring the hips up, leaning forwards, drop the hips. So at this point, I'm going to reverse. So leaning forwards, sitting back onto the heels. Good, that's 5. So pushing to the toes. Bring the hips up, slide them forwards, onto the wrists, drop the hips, now reverse. Send that wave back, sitting back onto your haunches. Good. Wave it up, drive through the toes, hips come forwards, the hips drop down, send the hips up, send them back. Good. 2 more. Drive it up, hips come forward, leaning into the wrists, drop those hips, lifting up through the neck, send those hips back. Good. 1 more of these, guys. Waving up, drive through the toes, slide those hips forwards, leaning forwards through the wrists, send those hips back and relax. Woo. That's tough, right? That's very deceptive. Excuse me. Yeah, nice back crack on that one. So you'll find that as you're basically taking your spine, that undulation, it's basically like a really nice sort of therapeutic wave effect. Okay, like it feels really nice. But as well, we're also getting some strength in that protractor position, so pushing the ground away. So here, pushing the ground away, but you can also feel, as soon as you go from this position, plank, into planche, again this idea of lever length, and we're creating a more acute angle at the shoulder, it becomes a lot tougher. Even like a couple of degrees, like 1 degree past vertical, becomes so much tougher. Excellent, guys. So well done if you're keeping up. So, what we're going to do now, we're going to go into a lizard crawl, okay? So we're going to break the lizard down into those constituent parts, and I'm going to get you guys to have a little play with them, okay? So lizard is potentially one of my favourite animal movements. I love all the animal movements, but the lizard crawl for me is like the pinnacle. I absolutely love it. And you guys will see why in a second. So, remember these good positions that we've started to create, I'm going to be here. So, I'm going to start in all fours on the ground. Now, this is almost like if you guys have messed around with like staggered push-ups, that's how we're going to work it. So in this position, I'll come slightly 45 degrees on. So, I'm going to start in plank position, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring my right knee to touch my right elbow, like this. Because on a lizard crawl, we're going to be here, so right, and then we're going to go, so each side is working like this. So right is touching, then left is touching, right is touching, left is touching. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. Anyway, you'll have fun either way. So, we'll break it down into the components we need. So, nice and short to start with. I'm going to be in this position. I'm going to leave my right arm and right knee touching, and I'm going to make a big long stretch with my left arm and left foot. Okay? In this position, I'm going to do a little bob down. Right? And now I'm going to change. So I'm going to bring my left side to touch each other. I'm going to do a nice big stretch with my right hand side. Again, that may be enough, but if you've got it, a little bob down. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. So we're just going to be working through these two positions. You guys might have more space than me, so feel free to locomote or travel as you have a go at this. Right. So break it down into those components again. Right is tight, left is long. And then we change. Anyway, I'm just going to do it static, so feel free to just do it statically. If you feel confident, feel free to whiz around your garden, around your living room, your kitchen, wherever you are. Right, so, nice and short to start with. I'm going to keep my right tight, my left is going to be long here. So I'll create a nice long shape through my left side, tight with the right. Okay? If you feel good and strong in that position, a little bob down, driving up. I'm going to change sides now. So now left is tight, right is long, bob down, driving up. So I can already feel a stretch coming through that longer side, hip flexor, obliques, same with when we were doing that crab with a reach. Okay, so we're going to do 5 of these. So a left dip and a right dip, that's 1. Left, right, 2, left, right, etc, etc. Okay, does that make sense? Let's have a go, shall we? So don't worry about if you're not confident in doing that little push-up when we're here, because that's it can feel quite awkward to start with. But remember, screwing that elbow into the socket, elbow nice and tight, down and up. Instagram, let's turn you down a bit. There. You guys see a bit better now, hopefully. So, we're going to do 5 reps, and each rep is a left side and a right hand side. So, I always like to start on the right hand side, like right is tight, left is long. That's the mantra I tell myself. So, right is tight, left is long. Okay? So, all fours. Right is tight, left is long. I'm going to drop down, drive up. Good. I'm going to bring back to the centre. I'm now going to reach out with my right hand side. Keep that left tight, down, up. Good. Each time back to the centre. That's 1 rep. Good. Right is tight, left is long. Change. Down, up, back to the centre. This time, right is tight, right is long. Down, up, back to the centre. Good. That's 2 total reps. Notice how each time I'm giving myself a little rest, sitting back in like quite a deep squat position. Good. Right. Rep number 3 coming up. Right is tight, left is long. Down, up, back to the centre. Good. Change sides. Left is tight, right is long. Down, up, back to the centre. Excellent, guys. I can feel this in my quads now. Whew. Right is tight, left is long. Good. Down, up, back to the centre. Good. Reaching out with the right hand side now. Down, up, back to the centre. Good. 1 more of these. Whew. Good. Right is tight, left is long. Right is tight, left long. Good. Down, up, back to the centre. Last one. Reaching out with the right. Down, up, back to the centre. Good. Excellent, excellent, guys. So, whew. Flat out like a yes, like a lizard taking a drink. Good. So as a final movement flow, we're going to try and do this moving. Okay. So you're probably getting feel the strength through your pecs, through your shoulders. Also, I can feel that in my quads. Now we're going to try and put a couple of these movements together. Now, I haven't got the biggest space in the world, so just feel free to either do what we just did, or if you've got more space, or feel free to, if you're watching this back, save it and then go try it outside. Feels amazing in the grass. So what we're going to do now is one of these, okay? See if I can do it for you. So I'm going to give myself maximum space. All the way back here. I'm going to come towards you guys. I'm going to do 1 on one side, 1 on the other. Now, if you're feeling confident, feel free to reverse it like this. So, right is tight, left is long. Down, change, down, down, and then reverse it. So, right is tight, left is long. Down, down. Woo! Okay, so let's have a little go at that now. I'm able to squeeze out about 3 forward, 3 back. How about that? So if you haven't got loads of space, I understand you might be doing this at home or whatever. Just continue doing what we're doing. We're doing right down and then change sides. Okay? What we're going to try and do, just put some of these together now. Remember, right is tight, left is long. Change, change. Woo! Okay? Right. I'm going to have a little go at this now. So feel free to join in with me. Let's go, shall we? So I'm going to give myself maximum run up. I'm having to squeeze into this corner so I can come all the way to you guys and then go back. Give me a boom if you're ready. Let's go. So right is tight, left is long. Okay, I'm going to bob down. If you want to make it harder, try and stay low to the ground. Change sides. Left is tight, right is long. Down, up. Going to change. Right is tight, left is long. Down, up. Now from here I'm going to reverse. So I'm going to push back. Now my left is tight. Down, up. I'm going to bring right tight. Here, down and up. Whew. Hey, does that make sense? So we're going to have one more of these and then we're going to have a recap. Okay, let's have another go. Notice how much harder it is. Try and stay low to the ground. So much harder. Because you're basically creating like an isometric hold. So the length tension relationship between your chest and how much force you're exerting. doesn't change. You're just transferring that force nice and tight. Right, let's have one more go. So, I'm going to go right is tight, left is long. I'm going to do 3 forwards, 3 back, then we're done. Okay, let's have a go. Right is tight, left is long. Let's go. 3, 2, 1. Down, up, stay nice and low. Shift that weight across. Right is tight, right is long now. Down, up, move over, down, up. Good, I'm going to reverse it, so I'm going to push backwards. Change the sides, down, pushing backwards. Change sides, down, and up. Whew. I'm cooked. Potentially you guys are as well. Yes, Sahida, so more fluid this week than last week. So again, last week we just had to go with statics. This time trying to build it all together. Well done, guys. Dead but happy. Yes, Joyce. So, if you didn't quite get it today, please feel free to revisit this at a later date. And I would love to know how you guys get on. Please, please, please have a go at this. Some people were having a go at this with their kids last week, and they were like tagging me in, which is awesome. I love to see it. So, Coach Owen at Owen B Jackson, please, please, please have a go at this. Love to see your efforts, especially if you get a chance to do it outside. It feels amazing in the grass. But other than that, for those of you, thank you for joining. Remember, Bodyweight Basics is completely free at the minute. So, have a look, schoolofcalisthenics.com. Bodyweight Basics was a £40 program, and now it is completely free during lockdown. Okay, so really, really valuable resource. Also, 50% off, incredible, 50% off monthly, like starting your first month of the virtual classroom, and you get 7 days free trial anyway. So, like, literally, no brainer. 7 days free trial, but as I say, you can start for as little as £5. But hopefully you enjoyed that, something slightly different this week. Like more of a flow and basically integrating the full body, the full kinetic chain. So again, whether you want to call it animal movements or you call it yoga, you call it flow, you call it bodyweight movements, calisthenics, whatever you call it, they all exist in the same sort of universe, don't they? So, YouTube, I wish you a great weekend. Thank you all. Remember, every weekday workouts we're providing to you guys. So from myself and the other coaches, so Jacko on Monday, Ab Club, Abs like Jacko. And then from the other coaches, there'll be Jude and Georgie and Tim. So awesome, awesome work. I appreciate you all. So thank you all so much. Again, I wish you nothing but health and happiness during this time. Thank you all, YouTube. Class dismissed. Yo.